Thanks, Michael, for joining us again on what are we going to call it? It's still the bias opinion, isn't it?
Yep, it's always a biased opinion. Always my opinions getting thrown out there.
I don't think anyone's been offended yet. We should get started with trying to do that with somebody.
Yeah, yet. Yet.
I think it's a bit further down the schedule.
Okay, cool.
So last time we actually heard,
waiting.
What was that, sorry?
Keep the listeners waiting.
Yeah. Last time we heard from you, it was when you did all the interviews at the World Championships. Obviously, you were still a bit crook then and weren't able to perform at your best, but the young New Zealand dude, Rico Beerman, did pretty well. He looked like he had the World Championships in the junior class all wrapped up until he washed out. You spent, what, 2 weeks with him afterwards in isolation, didn't you? Was he?
Yeah,
that was the last time.
That was the last time I heard from you. Sorry, not from you. Spoke to you. Yeah, obviously that was a weird time for me. Like being in Europe is something that I always want to do, to ride my bike, and being stuck there with this unknown injury, illness, whatever you want to call it. At the time, it was kind of like frustrating. But then, yeah, Worlds came along, and that Mike in the Pits, it kind of added a distraction to it, and it was good fun, really. I still tried to race anyway, which was, I guess, silly, but I just had to do it just to sort of clear my mind at the time. And then, yeah, Rico, yeah, it was gutting. Obviously, New Zealand's had actually quite a good history in terms of junior riders now. We had Jessie, she was world champ, Maynard. So maybe it was good that he didn't win it, so he didn't end up like those two, quitting. But no, he showed his speed all day. So I think that's something he can sort of look back on and be happy that he was the fastest. And yeah, that berm jump was tough. It was super small. I think we spoke about it. It was super small, and he was jumping a little bit far all day. And then in the semi, I think a French guy went under him. And he said in the final, like, he jumped a bit far, and he thought in his brain, he's like, oh, shut the door. And I think he started turning a little bit before he landed and just, washed out. But if only we had those little earpieces saying that he was miles in front.
There was a bit of carnage in that junior class, wasn't there? There was a crash in semis, and I think there was a couple of crashes in that final, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was actually in the final as well. I thought the track provided actually quite good racing. It's interesting to watch from the sideline. The elite crashes weren't really, thankfully, they weren't bad, but there was lots of like crashes in the corners. I think the English boys took each other out in the last corner in the 1/8. I think it was the 1/8. I interviewed Paddy and Mike in the Pits, and it was a good insight from him to hear how he's seen it. Like, he would have done the same thing if he was in Ross's position. But no, I think it was a good World Champs.
And since you got back, you figured out what the injury was, what's been holding you back while you're in Europe. So how's that made a difference to your riding since you got back?
Yeah. So that was kind of the worrying thing. I think I mentioned it on here for the first time, that what I was going through, we didn't really know what it was. We had a little bit of suspicion on it was something in my neck causing some issues. But then since getting home, I had a few scans, had all the tests, and then, we found there was like a muscle under my collarbone connecting to the back of my head that was sort of putting pressure on a nerve and an artery, which was obviously restricting blood flow and causing some issues in my hand. So since we got on top of it, it hasn't been a quick fix, just because it's been there for so long. It's going to take a little while to sort of get better, but I've seen heaps of progression. Like, now I'm riding, feeling 100% normal, really. Training, like, I've kind of, because of lockdown in Auckland, I couldn't train anyway because of the way lockdown was. But I started getting back on the road bike, started doing sprints. And then now, since I've sort of gone on a little road trip around the country, I started coaching and riding my bike more than ever. Doing a little bit of gym here and there, not really any sprints, but I'm just sort of having fun and getting back into it. And then I guess when the new year comes around, then I'll get back into the full swing of things. But I can't remember having a break like this in, seriously, 9 years or something, which is crazy. And I've never needed a break like this, and I don't say I need one now, but it's it's good. I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I love training, and yeah.
When you say you're having a break, you're doing coaching clinics and you're doing a little bit of the Crankworx thing as well, aren't you?
Yeah, when I say I'm having a break, yesterday was my 8th day in a row at the BMX track. So no, I'm not having a break, but in terms of like as an elite rider, like the training schedule's full on. It's consistency. Like you can't go to the gym 5 times one week and then the next week just go once. It's like a consistent program. So I'm having a break from that side of things. Doing those little 1% things that you normally do. But I'm definitely not having a break from BMX. Like that's torture for me. So I wouldn't do that. Like you said, I'm doing coaching clinics. I've done a bit of Crankworx. I was supposed to do Crankworx over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I've actually been loving my BMX bike so much. I'm just like, I don't want to go and spend 3 weeks on a mountain bike. I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing. So I might, I am racing BMX this weekend in Christchurch, and then I'll head back up north and maybe start getting back into the swing of things.
By going back north, that's back to Auckland?
Not yet, because the border, Auckland's not completely free yet. So I'll probably go, I'll take my time to go back up to Auckland, but I might stop in at the Waikato because that's where sort of Cycling New Zealand's based, and start with my new coach and yeah, just hang there for a bit. That's kind of the hub for BMX. So just spend a bit of time there before I go back to Auckland, but then Christmas is around the corner. So then I'll obviously be back in Auckland for Christmas.
So it's interesting. You said your new coach. It was basically you and your dad that were doing all your coaching in the past. Is this new for you, a new experience for you?
No, so not a BMX coach. Never had a BMX coach. Just a gym coach.
Oh,
don't change what's not broken in terms of BMX coach.
Yep.
Yeah. So just in terms of gym, more cycling, BMX specific related than the gym. Like I said, Cambridge is kind of the home of cycling, track cycling, road cycling, BMX. So just get someone based there, and with I do all my programs online, sort of not having a coach there. I'm fine with that. So that'll be good to get started.
So any more coaching clinics on the horizon?
I think a few of the clubs that I've stopped in at on the way down want me to stop in on the way back, so I just need to fire them a message when I'll be coming back. But that's kind of been the beauty of this trip. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, so when I figure out what days I'll be cruising through their town, I'll shoot them a message. But I guess this time of year, hopefully kids are starting to come out of school and we can be a bit more flexible. But no word as of yet what dates.
Are you able to plan any trips, say, to Aussie or anything in the near future, or is that still up in the air with restrictions and COVID and all the rest of it?
Yeah, it's just the MIQ. I guess the cost, and it's a week now, but an extra week in a hotel. I think they announced today from February 13th. There's no MIQ maybe, or maybe it's April. I can't remember. One of the two that they're going to get rid of MIQ. So I guess, unfortunately, probably nothing until February or April. Just because, it's not really affordable for me to sit in a hotel for a week.
I think the Oceanas are on in March at Sleeman. Is that right?
I haven't looked that far ahead, just because of COVID and stuff. Unless ECI are going to pay for my trip.
We'll hit Gary up. I'll put the hard word on him for you. How much money would you be looking at for a week in the?
I don't know. I think it's $1,500 for the week now, because I think it was $3,000 for 2 weeks, and they've just cut it in half.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So no thoughts on next year's World Cup at this stage? You still got to wait for that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this year it was kind of, everything was a little bit hurried in terms of my injury getting back, and then we had nationals. I think I was back on the bike for 2 or 3 weeks, which was very hurried at the time. And then after nationals, I was probably only 3 or 4 weeks until Europe. So everything was very, very hurried along for this year. So I want to make sure I actually spend some time getting back into tip-top shape before I go over to Europe next time. This year's Europe trip was good in the sense that I really, really, really showed to myself that like I am fast enough and I am good enough without even being in tip-top shape. Like my strengths really shine through. But then yeah, my weaknesses were affected more because of my preparation. But it was a good trip in terms of showing to myself how good my strengths are. So I just want to make sure I go next time fully prepared and give it everything I got. I had a really good opportunity, obviously staying in Holland, training at Papendal for the Worlds, but then with my neck and all that stuff that went on, it wasn't. I don't think I rode my bike for 12 weeks leading into Worlds, so that's not ideal.
It's definitely not ideal. So it gave you that time to sort of run around and talk to people in the pits. We spoke about that briefly earlier, but what was your favourite interview?
My favourite, that's a tough one. My favourite. My favourite one to do or watch. I think like Mitchell Shotman, I think a lot of people enjoyed watching him. He's so fun to talk to. I said to you before, I got to train with him leading into the Worlds or straight after Verona. But he's such a good character. Like he's one guy that is always happy, which kind of is similar to me. Like when I'm riding my bike, I'm happy. And we had days at Papendal, me and Mitchell, where we were just like, look at this. Like he's from there, but I was just like, look at this. I'm in Europe training at Papendal with Twan, with Mitchell. Like, this is awesome. And yeah, Mitchell's the same as me. Like we just love BMX and we're super grateful for all those opportunities we get. And then, yeah, I mean, I said it in the interview, but he'd gone from never making a quarterfinal to getting world number 6 at his home track. It's like, it was insane to be there and watch. Obviously, I got to train with him and do some half laps and some full laps and some gates with Mitchell. So that was, yeah, it felt like my teammate, even though we're not in the same team or anything. It was so cool to see. And from that, he's actually got a spot on the Dutch national team. So I'd say it was probably Mitchell. But then I can't, like, interviewing Graf is pretty damn cool. Renaud Blanc was very cool because I don't think many people have seen what Renaud's like as a person. I think my interview showed a little bit what he's like. He just loves to ride his bike. And I'm exactly the same in a sense to Renaud in terms of we just love to ride our bike. And I've said it before, but he's by far the most skilled BMXer on a bike. Like he just does ridiculous things. And then yeah, obviously with Twan and retiring, it was a pretty surreal moment for me, just having someone like Twan sort of announce his retirement on our interview. It was a pretty cool moment.
It was interesting, and unfortunately we couldn't get the footage out before everyone else heard the news. We'll have to try that next time.
I thought that when he was telling me, I was like, "Wow, this is some gold footage right here."
But obviously, you spoke to some of the girls, Peanut and Laura Smolder. Yep. And a lot of people said they hadn't heard much from them as well. So it was good to get them in there as well. And which Gomez twin did you speak to?
I think I did both. One on the first one on the second.
That's right.
And they both ended up making the World's final. And then Aiko, obviously, since then, has gone on to win the Pump Track Worlds. So that's pretty cool. But I've kind of had a lot to do with those twins over the last few years. I've been to Belgium and they're both insane. Like there's not much that makes me step back and go, shit. Like I obviously appreciate all skills on bikes, but Aiko, not the oldest one, the one I did first, she is crazy. I think the first year I was there, she was 15 or something, and she asked if she could jump the triple into the first turn, which is, if you've been to Zolder, it's not easy and it's quite big. Like a lot of the pro guys don't do it if it's not a perfect night. I kind of looked at her, I was like, shit, like I don't want to be the guy that tells her you can do it. And I said, you can follow me if you want. And she just sent it like perfect. I was just like, Jesus, like you're insane. Which is cool. Like I have so much respect for those girls.
I guess that could have gone either way, you know, if she had to come up short, it might have been a completely different story.
Yeah. Oh, but she's got so much skill. Like in the air, that's kind of what I worry about is people jumping in the air freezing, but in the air she's so controlled. Like she just has the perfect bike control to set it up. They've both done that triple now and the pro section, which is pretty cool. But yeah, with the interviews, it was a good time just to sort of get out of my comfort zone as well. It wasn't exactly, I guess, easy for me to sort of do that. Some of the people that I hadn't really spoke to before, like Laura Smolders, I hadn't really spoke to her too much, but she was awesome to talk to. Some of the American boys I hadn't spoke to, so it was good to get out and interview a variety of people. It wasn't as easy as I thought to capture everyone. Like, a lot of people would just leave as soon as practice is done, and then as soon as racing's done. I mean, I did it after the final, so most people that didn't make the final had kind of already left. So it wasn't easy. I wanted to get, like, obviously the winners, but then they're an anti-doping. I wanted to get Sylvain or something, but yeah, he was an anti-doping as well. So it was a bit difficult, but for my first time, I think it went all right.
So you didn't look too nervous. I don't think anyone that saw the video that I'd spoken to afterwards didn't enjoy it or didn't find every part of it, entertaining, but as interesting at the same time, because they were getting inside information on some of these people that generally are pretty quiet, and you only really see their results and watch them racing. You don't really see the whole behind the scenes thing. So it was a good job of bringing that side of BMX and that side of the sort of pro mindset to the wider audience.
Yeah, it was cool. I even got Peyton Ridenhout, which I've seen that you've done an interview with her. She's awesome. She's a good personality as well. But yeah, I guess the more you do it, the different people you kind of get, and it would open up, because the 23 minutes, I think it was 22 or 23 minutes, it filled up pretty quickly. Like, after the first day, I was like, didn't really get enough. But then I got home and I started editing, and I even had to cut some people out. Like, I had the commentator, Rich Eames. I had an interview with him, but he can talk, so it went on for a while. And I just left that out, because, I mean, if it's like 30-something minutes, I even heard some people say, it's 20 minutes. I'm not going to watch the whole thing, which I get. So yeah, the more I do, the more personalities I'll get.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do plan on doing more?
Yeah, for sure. It kind of showed me how easy it is as well. Like, I mean, both those days you would have seen I was in race gear. So first day I practiced, and then quickly ran back, did some interviews. It took me 10-15 minutes to do that. Well, obviously it didn't actually. It took 22 minutes or whatever. But I'd just go from rider to rider to rider. It was easy. I enjoyed it, so it was fun. And then yeah, after racing, I guess the only problem would be if I was to have a long day on the bike, which is always planned, then it would make it difficult, but I could make it work. So
no one got scared you're going to beat them over the head with the warm down post?
No, but watching it back, I did get a bit close to some people.
Do you think you'll be using that same setup next time, or have you found something a little bit safer?
A little bit safer. I'll probably switch it out to be a bit different. But no, I thought I'd give my sponsors a little bit of spotlight with the Elite Seat microphone.
They would have been pretty stoked with that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I was planning on showing how to use it, like pulling it out of my bike and then showing, but it was all very last minute, and finding a cameraman was probably the hardest thing to do. Is like, who wants to follow me around with a phone for 20 minutes? But luckily, my friend that I was staying with, he got into the pits, and I said to him, "Is it all right?" And he said, "Yeah, no worries." But then after the finals happened, I had to go find him, and it worked out really good. I've heard lots of good stuff from it as well, and David Graff he pushed me towards doing it. Like, I'd spoken to him about it the week, I guess, before, or maybe the week of, and he was like, yeah, like, this is what our sport needs, and he agreed that I was a good guy to do it, just with my personality. And Max Kluwer, the commentator, which I think, I got him in the interview. So he's a great guy. He was really pushing me to do it as well. He wants me to go into commentating. He's kind of got a thing around Kiwi accents, Australian accents, and South African accents are really easy for people to understand. So yeah, a couple of those guys that were sort of pushing me to do it made me a bit more confident, and then yeah, I thought it went really well. So there'll be more.
So Max isn't just commentating at the BMX races, is he? I think I've heard him commentating at World Cups in mountain biking as well.
Yeah, he's crazy. He does like, I don't know, I'm going to say the wrong number, but like 30 weekends or 35 weekends of a year he works. He does like mountain biking, cross country. Red Bull's like his main client, I guess. He does like Zwifting interview commentary. He does like ultra marathons, and he does all sorts. So he's got a voice for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a shame you don't actually hear him. You only hear him in the backgrounds because there's always other voices over the top.
Yeah, I think that they should put him on the live stream. He's got lots of good ideas as well. He's a very smart man, and I always have breakfast or lunch with him or dinner with him wherever we go. Quite often that we all sit in the same area, so I'll go talk to him, and he's got so many good ideas about our sport. So hopefully, if he continues on, the right people can listen to someone like Max, because he's, like I said, he works with mountain biking and all these other events that know how to sort of organize their sport and know how to get the most out of it. So he gets to see a variety of all these different sports, and he's got his own twist on BMX. Like, I think he's been around BMX for a long time in South Africa, so he kind of knows how BMX works and knows how to get the best out of it. And I've seen that a lot lately. Like David as well, he's a very strong opinionated guy, but he's got such good ideas about how we can get our sport moving in the right direction.
There was some feedback on the Mike in the pits. So it was brought to my attention that Double A Pete didn't like the idea. He thought that he owned the patent for it, and I thought that was a bit cocky of him. And it was interesting. I've always found it very hard to listen to and watch Pete's interviews, but yours were a lot easier, a lot more natural and free flowing, and less vanilla, I guess you'd say. So what did you think of his feedback?
Yeah, I heard someone let me know that he was talking about it on the podcast. I gave it a quick listen. But yeah, I tried searching up. I'd never heard of Pathetic Pete in the Pit, so I tried to find it. I couldn't find it anyway, so I don't know what he's talking about. But no, it was funny to listen to his opinion on it. He was talking about me like he didn't know who I was, but he clearly watched it, so he knows who I am. No. I've always honestly always struggled to listen to him as a commentator, and then he's a hard man to listen to.
It's good that we've got people like that involved and so passionate that they don't like seeing people steal their ideas. But I have to say, you did a great job, and I don't care what Pete says. Is Christmas time going to be busy for you? You said you were going to be ramping up your training. Is there much racing in the new year for you?
Hopefully we get some racing back in New Zealand. Like, we have got a good group of junior, and well, they're actually all elite now. They're not even junior come the new year. So we've got a good group of elite guys. So yeah, fingers crossed we can get some racing going. Obviously with Auckland and lockdown, the rest of the country sort of out of it now. Well, they're not actually out of it, they're just less in restrictions. Hopefully we can get some sort of inter-city racing, because in Auckland there's a couple of us, but then in the Waikato there's a few more, and they're kind of a little bit spread out. So yeah, fingers crossed we can get some racing in. Hopefully I can get some sort of training in before then. But yeah, I think I'll enjoy Christmas at home, and then start in the new year when I guess the High Performance Centre opens up, and I'm in no real hurry to get started. But when I do get started, like I said, it's going to get started. I'm not going to sort of ease back in. I will ease back into it, but I'm not going to sort of take it easy for a few months. I'm back in the gym and back doing everything at 100% like I always do. But yeah, I'm just enjoying my time now. I don't even know what to call it. It's not really a break. It's not a holiday. Just I don't know what to call it.
Are you still involved in the high performance squad for New Zealand?
Yep, as far as I'm concerned, yeah. So at the moment, it's me, Rebecca, and I think Sarah's still involved as well. So at this stage, that's as much as I know. I just joined the Athlete Voice Committee for BMX, so I guess now I've got a say within Cycling New Zealand about BMX riders, BMX sport. So that's exciting for me, just to push our sport amongst cycling, because I guess every country is the same, but BMX doesn't get as much as some of the other sports, or as much of a look in as some of the other disciplines amongst cycling. So no, that's exciting. I'll try and get more for us and make sure that we get treated fairly. But we've had a huge, it's a weird time with what happened with the track cycling girl Liv Podmore this year, sorry. Yeah, there's been a huge change with Cycling New Zealand. Like, it feels like every single day I'm getting an email saying someone's resigning. So there's been lots of resignations, and there's going to be a whole new team sort of come in. So I'm sure the structure and everything will change, and that will affect us as well, obviously. So I've just got to sort of play it by ear and see how it goes into the next year. But hopefully I can be supported through to the next Olympics and give that my best crack.
So you had a birthday recently. What are you now, 27?
Yep, 27, same as Gary. So not same age.
Gary.
He's 26, I think.
Does that mean when the Olympics come around, you'll be what, 29?
29 at the Olympics, yeah, it's a pretty good age, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of the stronger riders are, late 20s.
Yeah, I mean, with age, like, I've definitely become more experienced and wise, and I don't think you need to be, even though I think my speed's constantly improving just because I'm learning different things and etc. The experience helps so much. Like, you can get on the gate and you know so much more, and that's definitely helping me sort of the older I get, and the more experience I get as well, because I think as a young elite rider, I didn't have much experience. I didn't go to many World Cups at a young age, and so yeah, the more I do, the more experience I get. But I'm still yet to do a full World Cup season, I think. I might be wrong this year. No, I didn't do it this year, Turkey. So yeah, I've still never done a full World Cup season, never done a full European round season. So I think there's still lots to be gained for me. And I don't look at myself as an experienced rider yet, but I know that I do have good experience, and I've got lots more to learn and lots more to gain as well.
If given the opportunity, do you think you'll go back to Europe for a couple of months again next year?
Yeah, definitely. I've kind of been speaking with my sponsors in France and stuff to see how I can get back over there and get amongst it. I've been lucky to pick up, obviously, Pride and Prophecy, so I really want to take advantage of that. And it's been, honestly, I'm not saying it's been a dream since I was probably 14, 15 to just go to France and race. Like, as a kid, my idols were Joris Daudet and Sylvain and stuff, and I remember watching their videos on YouTube or whatever it was back then, and it was just like, that's where I want to go. Like, the racing's cool, the track's cool, it's like heaps of riders, and the sport just looks huge there. And that's kind of what my dream was. I know that lots of kids kind of look up to America or wherever, but for me as a kid, it was France. So to sort of have an opportunity to possibly go back there, I'll do anything I can to get there and spend some time there.
One thing I did notice during the week was, I think it was shared by Pride, actually, the big quad jump that you tried. What track was that? Is that Christchurch?
Rangiora. So there's 3 tracks down here. There's North Canterbury. Oh, that is North Canterbury, actually. It's cool. It's in Rangiora. North Avon, and then there's Christchurch City. They're actually not bad tracks down here, which I've kind of seen them before, but I've never ridden all 3 of them. But yeah, I only rode for like 20 minutes actually, and I always say every track I go to, I'm like, okay, has someone done this? Has someone done that? They're like, yep. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not leaving unless I do something someone hasn't done. Like, oh, you can do that triple so-and-so's done it. I'm like, if someone's done it, I don't want to do it. So I actually, no one had done the first 3 of that quad. So I did that triple. I was kind of looking at it like, I think you could do the quad. So I gave it one crack and came up a bit short, but my videographers, everyone else wanted to leave, so I didn't really get another crack at it. But it was big. I think I measured it did some janky footsteps. I think it was like 13 meters, and the lip was quite small as well. So
it was more of a massive bunny hop, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I kind of I showed my brother, and he said, "You didn't really pop," and I was like, "I don't think I could pop because I needed to go that way. Can't really go that way. Got to go that way." So
at what point did you think you were going to come up short?
I kind of, when I took off, I actually, I don't know, I do a lot of things to make sure my brain's ready, but I pick up tripled out perfectly once before it, and I was like, actually, I'm just going to do that again, but case it, just to get my head what it's going to feel like if I do case it. So I did that quite slow and just cased it, and I knew it was going to be in the right case. So then I kind of took off, and when I actually cased it, it didn't feel that bad because I was going so fast forward. And I guess you can see on the video, I kind of ride out it perfectly fine. But I was probably about halfway where I was like, ooh, it's going to come up a little bit short here.
It looked pretty forgiving given the kind of speed and the height you got over it.
I put a little transition in so you can't really see the case as well, but it actually doesn't look that bad.
It was pretty impressive.
That's good fun.
Do we expect any more crazy jump videos anytime soon? You got anything planned?
It's never really planned, actually. I'm constantly I guess I'm always looking for something that hasn't been done. Like I said, I went to a training last night, and there's a few good riders there that like doing triples and new gaps and stuff. And all the kids were telling me, "Oh yeah, so and so's done this." And I was like, "This is going to be tough. I'm not going to leave here unless I've done something." So I did a few good triples and stuff last night, but there's not always a camera on hand. But I'm sure there'll be some cool jumps or some cool lines soon. I've been riding a bit of mountain bike today and also tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have some videos of me jumping some big jumps on the mountain bike.
So you're going to miss that when you head north, or is there still plenty of mountain biking at home?
There's not at home back in Auckland.
Oh, really?
Sorry?
Oh, really?
No, not really. And I guess that's a good thing. Like I was saying to my dad earlier on, I don't think I'd like to live in a city where there's both, because I do enjoy it. I don't enjoy it anywhere near as much as BMX, but going from a mountain bike to a BMX bike is disgusting. It makes your BMX bike feel revolting. So I wouldn't want to do that too often, and I wouldn't like the temptation of always having an awesome bike park or dirt jumps close by. So no, I'm glad it's not in Auckland, to be honest. But no, when I do travel up north, I'll stop through at some different bike parks, and I just want to ride everything right now. That's all that's making me happy is just sort of riding my bike and doing different things and getting out of my comfort zone. I've sort of had a saying in my head for the last 18 months or something, if it scares you or if it makes you nervous, just do it, because that's when you're going to grow. And it's not only for BMX, it's for all aspects of life. I worked for Drug Free Sport doing education, and I think my first ever one was with the Black Sticks, which is the New Zealand hockey team, which they're quite, I guess, a big team, and it was the men and women together. There was 70 of them. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that. They know more about my job than I know about my job at that point. And I just did it. I was like, you know what, I have to do this. And it went awful, but I learned.
Talking about the jump parks, there was some video, I think you're on the mountain bike actually, at a jump park that looked pretty gnarly. Was that nearby as well?
I posted some today, but you won't be talking about that. You'll be talking about the one I posted probably a week or so ago at Rotorua. So that's probably 3 hours from home. It's actually right next to the BMX track. So the BMX track's here and the dirt jumps are right next door. Which I've been to that BMX track a lot, but I've actually never gone over and touched the dirt jumps. And I'd taken my chain off for pump track, and then I cross-threaded my sprocket putting it back on.
Oh, no.
So I didn't put my chain back on in case I sort of pedaled and snapped more. And they have some really good lines in Caroline and her boyfriend Prudy was there as well, and we were sort of doing them. I was getting a bit more comfortable, and I said to the guy that sort of runs it, I said, what about that massive line on the left? I want to do that. He's like, no. He's like, first of all, you need a chain. Second of all, it's big. I think he's like 4 or 5 people have only ever done that.
Oh, right.
I was kind of looking at it like, look at those jumps on the BMX track. Like, they look bigger than this. And yeah, eventually I just got one of the local boys who rides there all the time to jump it and show me, and then I just did it. And that was one of those moments where there was that little monkey in the back of my head saying, don't do it. But then I was like, nah, I can do it. Which was fun. It was honestly terrifying because you're coming at it, and as a BMXer, like, we jump big jumps, and this jump, I stood on top. I was like, this isn't actually long. It's probably only, I don't know, 8 or 9 meters, which isn't huge. And you're coming at it at ridiculous speeds with this lip like triple the height of any BMX, like steep. And my brain's just going, you're gonna overjump, you're gonna overjump, don't do it. And then sure enough, I come up short. So it's a mind game. It's you've got to fight against your natural instincts to speed jump it or to go the speed you think, because in BMX, like, we've developed for many years this thing in our brain that tells us how far we have to jump at this speed, and it's a skill that we don't really know we have. If there's that new double that you've never seen anyone do, to be able to go and jump it, that's a pretty cool skill to be able to go do that. And then dirt jumps just completely flips that out the window and just goes, try learn this.
Yeah, because completely different, isn't it, to race jumping versus dirt jumping?
Yeah, it's completely different. And I mean, I still jumped it a little bit like a racer, but just the fact that the lips are like this in the landing, and then it's ridiculous. So no, that's so much fun. That's what I'm sort of taking this time to do, and I think I've always been a little bit like that. Like, I like to do things outside of the box in terms of on the BMX track as well, but I guess I've had a long time off the bike, and it's just good to be back doing that stuff. That's what gives me the adrenaline, and that's why I love bikes.
Did notice you've been rubbing shoulders with Crankworx royalty. You were out with Kalani Hines the other day at BMX tracks, and your new mate Bass has been encouraging you with your videos.
He's not my mate. He smoked me at the pump track. No, that's honestly one of my, also another cool moment. I've been, this week, I was at the BMX track with Sam Blenkinsop, who is a childhood idol of mine, and our grandma's actually, well, my grandma's just moved, but they were neighbours at a retirement village.
All right.
So I met his grandma, and then I met Sam this week, and I actually seen him today as well. So it's been so cool. Like, I still feel like a little kid at heart when I see someone like Sam Blenkinsop and Bass, and Caroline's been down, which I obviously know Caroline through BMX, but it's just been cool to hang out with her, and no, it's been cool. That's what's cool about bikes, I guess. It brings us all together. I was supposed to go to the summer series for Crankworx, so they've got a sort of couple of weeks down in Queenstown, which I already mentioned, but yeah, I had everything sort of ready to go, but no, I'll stick to the BMX bike for now. I can do that later in life.
So you reckon when you do retire from BMXing, you'll have a crack at more Crankworx style racing?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I enjoy it, but it doesn't sort of get me excited anywhere near as much as BMX. And like, so many people speak about the difference between mountain bike and BMX. Like, mountain bike is so much more relaxed. Like, they all cheer for each other, and where in BMX, it's not how it works, but I'm okay with that. Like, I love the intensity and the competitiveness in BMX, but then I also love a little bit of the social side in mountain biking and just enjoying your bike. And I think I have a good balance in BMX anyway. Like, I enjoy riding my bike, but I'm very, very competitive. So yeah, I don't know if I'll do Crankworx. Like, at the moment, it's just a bit of fun. I don't know how much I enjoy it, especially because I don't really get time to train for it. Like, it's hard to enjoy something when you don't really train for it, and you know that you could probably do better if you put some more time into it. But I don't know. I don't really think too far ahead. But for the meantime, BMX is me.
Just before we probably should stop recording, actually, but just before we do, there would have been quite a few BMXers following you at Crankworx at Rotorua. Did you get many messages and a lot of people contacting you after your ride?
I didn't really get much airtime going out in the first round. But
I'm
no,
sure there's still a few people that noticed.
yeah, no, I did. I think Crankworx is quite a well watched sort of thing around the world. Lots of the kids watched it that I've coached in the last couple of weeks as well. Yeah, it's an awesome event, and I was gutted I didn't do better. But then to be that close to Bass, and then for him to go on and win, it was kind of made me feel a bit better. But at the same sense, it was like, damn, it could have been me on a different day. So it's difficult. But it's the exact same thing I was just saying. It's like for a BMXer to go to mountain biking, there is lots of little things that we're good at, but there's lots of also things that we aren't good at, like the cornering aspect. I didn't ride clips, so I think I was one of the. I think Billy didn't ride clips, but everyone else sort of had clips, and that's just because I wasn't comfortable on clips going around those corners. I wasn't comfortable on the corners, and then just little things like that. I kind of wish that I'd spent a week. I didn't really have the opportunity with lockdown, but a week or two getting ready so that I could commit 100%, because I definitely see that I've got the speed and the skills, but it was just I didn't feel like I could go 100% because I wasn't committing, which sucks. But I got lots of good messages and lots of people watched it and they thought I did good, even though I didn't. But yeah, it's a cool thing for that.
So you are your harshest critic then, really, aren't you?
Big time. That's why my dad enjoys watching my racing, and I always talk to him about it after, get straight on the phone with Dad. And yeah, I mean, I've already thought of everything I could have done better and everything that I should have done. But I truly am my harshest critic. Even when everything goes well, it still probably isn't good enough or could have been better. That's how you get good, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, mate. We've been talking for quite a while. I'll let you get going because it must be nearly Betty Buy's time for you.
I've got my watch on. 10:30. Yep, bedtime.
Thanks for joining us again, and we won't leave it so long in between discussions. We'll try to catch up with you again in a few weeks before Christmas and check in on how you're going and have another bias opinion for people's.
Sounds good. I've been thinking a lot. I'm keen to do those not how to manual, but like some tips on manualing and tips on some flatland stuff, but like stuff you can do at your own house and some little tips like that.
In between the cooking videos.
That's not ECI TV. The cooking. I'm just here for my BMX.
I enjoyed the Uber recipe.
The Uber one. I'll have to publish them.
You'll have to.
Mike in the pits.
Mike in the kitchen.
Mike in the kitchen. I can make a whole series about this. Mike in the kitchen, Mike in the pits, and.
All right. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.